Should you be rotating your horse wormer or not? Okay, so this is still a little bit of a myth out there. There's actually no evidence to say that rotating the wormer that you use is going to help with any resistance. In fact, there is a different worming protocol that has actually been around for many years that does not involve rotating wormers. One of the things that's been worked out is that resistance to a wormer is going to build slowly if there is a large population of the worms not exposed to that wormer or that selection criteria, I guess. And those worms we call in refugia, so in a refuge. Now, in any environment, we know that that refuge means the worm larva on the grass, but it also can mean the encysted ones in the stomach of the horse. It's important to have these worms that haven't been exposed to a wormer to dilute the population of resistant worms that are emerging. So if you're not rotating the wormer, what do you need to do? Number one, check the wormer that you're using is being effective for your horse or your group of horses. So for example, if you're using ivermectin-based product, get a fecal egg count done, and then 2 weeks later, get a fecal egg count reduction test done. And this will tell you that when I worm with ivermectin, is this being effective on my horse? Once you know that an ivermectin-based wormer is effective for your horse, you know you can just stick with that one. What is now no longer recommended, however, is that you simply blindly chemically worm your horse every 6 to 8 weeks. That is definitely not the way we're moving forward, and by doing that we are increasing the rate of resistance. So some of the immediate measures to put in place are just physical control, managing manure in your pasture, making sure you pick up I guess at least twice a week, depending on the climate. In really drought, dry dirt, you can leave it a little bit longer. But in general, if you aim to pick up all your manure and have your horse not grazing anywhere near manure a couple of times a week, then you will minimise the risk of them picking up new eggs. If you have a few horses, you may find that one of them in particular always has a higher worm count than the others. That one you may need to keep a closer eye on and worm more regularly, but it doesn't mean that you need to worm the entire herd at that point. Just try to keep the egg count low in what we would call the worm shedder. There are other physical tactics like worm and then move to a clean paddock, one that's been left and you know there is no larva emerging that a horse can ingest. The use of dung beetles is helpful, and there's a lot of other measures that you can use to physically control worms as well. So our new worm treatments really revolve around being quite selective. So as I said, any horse with a consistently high egg count, fecal egg count, gets wormed more regularly than the others. Otherwise, using regular fecal egg counts will help you to determine which horses to worm. Now, even if you have a horse that has a very consistently no to low egg count, it still does not mean you never worm your horse. Our standard fecal egg counts only look for small strongles. So by capturing those, we normally capture the others in their life cycle. However, if your horse consistently has a low count, it doesn't mean that other worms are not emerging. In general, looking at routine worming of once to twice a year and then doing fecal egg counts is the best way to go. So the ideal regime, fecal egg count every 3 months. Implement manure management strategies. Selectively worm each horse depending on its egg count. So worming the wormy horses more often, but leaving the others. Remember, we're trying to leave some in refugia to help slow resistance. Remembering consistently slow egg count does not mean not to worm. You still need to conduct some chemical worming once to twice a year. So finishing up, drug rotation is no substitute for selective worming and regular fecal egg count testing. If you'd like a little bit more information, hop on over to my website. I have a download available about new worming protocols. If you like this video, found it helpful, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next video.